Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Équinoxe television, Hugo Broos sacked as coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. The decision has so far been taken by the Fecafoot Normalization Committee. It was arrived at in a meeting, or after a meeting which took place that was few hours ago in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Also ahead to revisit the controversial communique published by the senior divisional officer from Manu, where in the southwest region of the country, Manu, where there are reports of heavy military deployment, is going to be a focus tonight in this edition of the primetime newscast as well. Our guest will be telling us the positive and negative repercussions of the tough military sanctions announced for the two English-speaking regions of the country. Those are headlines. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome you back from the weekend. You're watching the primetime newscast on Équinoxe television. We are going to begin right away in sports. The latest information from the nation's capital. Team coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, Hugo Broos, that has been sacked by the Normalization Committee of the Fecafoot. This is after they decided that the team coach was not able to meet his objectives or to attain his series of objectives since he was appointed as coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon on February 2016 for a 2-year renewable contract or a 2-year renewable mandate. His contract is expected, as I indicated, to end in February 2018, but he has so far been sacked by the Normalization Committee of Fecafoot that has been in control of the Cameroonian Football Federation barely for a few months now. They indicated that he failed to qualify the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon for the 2018 World Cup bid for Russia. He has never equally been living in the country ever since he was appointed coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon. The coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon has not been able to respect series of engagements that he took with the national football squad in the country. He has so far been sacked as the coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon, but for his successes, it should be noted that it is with Hugo Broos that Cameroon was able to take home the 2017 AFCON trophy in Gabon. With him, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon have been able to qualify for the 2019 AFCON games, but it is automatic because Cameroon is going to be hosting the said competition. We obviously will be keeping you updated in our subsequent newscast. Now we talk about activities that have been on a standstill in an intra-urban transport company in the nation's capital. Workers of Stacy, that is the name of the said company, refused to carry on with their daily routine in protest against what they call abusive dismissal of workers and non-payment of salaries. Some of the grumbling personnel say that they have been for 6 months now and even more without salaries. Attempts to get reaction from management of the said company were fruitless. Let's now have the reaction of some of the striking workers that were speaking to Équinoxe television.
Televiewers, it is too much. We can't take it in this country. I don't know the level of leadership that we have. I don't know the kind of government leaders we are taking. But the problem is that the government have to see into it that we, the youth of this country, we have to stand. We are the future. We left schools with our diplomas, our certificates. We don't have jobs. Even the little jobs that we are working on, we cannot make salary out of it. My landlord is sending me out of the house because I cannot pay my rent. Look at my t-shirt. I cannot even wash it because I don't have money. Where do you expect us to go? Our brothers are out there in Libya. They have been deported back into the country because things are not fair for us. Where are we leading to? There is no hope in this country. It is too much. It is enough. It has to stop. We have to fight for it. There is something we have to do.
I was working here since in June, and they have not paid me. They paid me, the first time they told me that my salary was 60,000. I went to the bank, they gave me 34,000. I came and complained, they said that I've kept charges in the bank. Today, last time I came, they said they are not paying me. I mean, since November, not November, they drove us since September up to today. They have not paid my salary. I have come to collect my salary too. Yes, and for no reason, they just decided to sack all of us for no reason.
and it was practically difficult for users of the said travel agency to go about their day-to-day activities in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. We are closely following up developments. We shall be keeping you updated. Now, who published what is now being described as a genocide release, asking some inhabitants in Manu division of the southwest region of the country to evacuate their villages? The question remains without a certain answer. The communique provoked controversies on the stance of Manu senior divisional officer and the governor of the southwest region of the country following the panic that it created. Let us come back to the set decision by the senior divisional officer for Manu with Babla Jonathan in the following report.
The controversial release sent panic waves down the spines of inhabitants of 16 villages in the Manu division, southwest region of Cameroon. They were asked to leave the villages within hours or be targeted by security operations against killers of elements of the National Armed Forces in recent days. The instructions purportedly came from the senior divisional officer of the Manu division. Speaking to a local radio station, the senior division officer, Joseph Unde, neither said he did issue the communique or he did not, but simply highlighted a misunderstanding.
We cannot ask them to leave their village. I think that we have a misunderstanding about this press release.
He later said the release has been withdrawn.
Mr. Ezio, what you are telling us in clear terms is that we are withdrawing this press release
yes.
At this very hour, which is 20 minutes
yes.
past 11 a.m.
This press release must be withdrawn.
Southwest Governor Benau Kalabilai later issued another release saying the Southwest administration does not recognize any release asking inhabitants to quit their areas of residence.
The document is fake. When I say it's fake, because first of all, the SDO have never consulted me to take such a measure, because it's very sensitive and important measure. I have never contacted the government to take such measures, and I have not received copy of that document. That's why I said it's a fake document. And the SDO himself locally has published a communique stating that the document is fake. He does not recognize the document, sir.
Both authorities urged the population of the villages concerned to stay calm, to remain in their villages and to collaborate with security or defense forces who are working to ensure the security and safety of persons and properties.
And following the declaration of the President of the Republic of Cameroon Thursday last week and the special security meeting Friday that was equally last week, which came in the wake of killing of security forces in the southwest region of the country, precisely in Manu, heavy military deployment has been reported in that part of the southwest region of Cameroon. Locals say that military vehicles transporting security forces have been entering Manu division, but administrative and security authorities in that region are indicating that the information is unfounded. The senior divisional officer for Manu himself said that the safety of persons and properties is the major concern of the administration at this point in time. Now we take you to the nation's capital, Yaoundé. As far as the November session of Parliament is concerned, it continued today unperturbed at the level of the National Assembly. SDF MPs who have been mounting pressure for the Anglophone crisis to be included on the agenda of the set November session were absent. Today, reporters in Yaoundé said that all security measures have been put in place to perturb any plans by the SDF MPs from protesting or disrupting the ongoing session. The Ministers of Public Works, Agriculture and Rural Development and that of small and medium-sized enterprises were expected to defend their budgetary allocations before members of the Finance and Budget Committee that was today at the level of the National Assembly. Now, the impact of the Anglophone crisis that escalated more than 1 year ago is also having a huge impact, or the Anglophone crisis is also having a huge impact on young girls, precisely in the southwest region of the country, where health experts have observed that what they called alarming increase in the number of teenage pregnancy. How to get these girls busy in the wake of the Anglophone crisis and equally remain focused on daily basis was the focus, rather, of a local association, as Derek Jato tells us in the following report.
Medics say the southwest region has recorded the highest number of teenage pregnancy this 2017.
If you come like in our hospital, at the regional hospital, and you check, you find that teenage pregnancy is alarming, especially with the situation that we face in our region, where they are not going to school, they stay at home, and they move randomly.
To deal with the damage that has already been done, and to sensitize others from falling victim, an association for promotion of self-delivery has taken the challenge to restore hope.
We should save those who are being rejected. Maybe because they are not married, maybe because they were pregnant at the level of 15, 17. They got pregnant while being in school. They are being rejected by their school. It is not normal. Normally, we are helping them that even after the pregnancy, if after the early pregnancy, she can still go to school, that she can still do something.
Its president, Tayo Sylvain, says remote areas are the most affected zones in the southwest region.
That is where they don't have money. They don't go to antenatal consultation because they don't have money. At times they don't go because they don't know about. So we sensitize.
During a sensitization meeting in Boya, it was also revealed that the absence of peace brought by the Anglophone crisis is one of the root causes, reason why participants were also encouraged to go and build a positive mindset in their various communities.
Bad roads, potable water or lack of potable water amongst lack of basic social facilities are some of the problems plaguing the locality of Mbam and Inubu division that is in the center region of the country. Let us discover the said locality and the day-to-day difficulties of local inhabitants with Équinoxe and Aze.
This is the reflection of most nature of roads in localities in the Mbam and Inubu division of the central region. Feel neglected, affected inhabitants look for solutions to render the deplorable roads passable as mobility on foot and vehicle is cumbersome. Unlike car owners in the localities, the mayor of Bafia, Max Abraham, is compelled to park his vehicle and continue to his destination on foot. A bitter experience which instigates the action to rehabilitate the roads to enable inhabitants engaged in cocoa farming to benefit enormously from in terms of transporting their produce flexibly to the markets. Not only is the subject of deplorable roads a talking point in the Mbam and Inubu, water crisis is inclusive.
Le syndicat de communes du Mbam et Inubu s'occupe de la maintenance de tous les points d'eau.
Inhabitants are called upon to dip their hands in their pockets to create enough potable water sources and exploit carefully the available water points.
Qui s'occupe de l'entretien des points d'eau. On demande à chaque ménage.
Every household is expected to contribute at least 500 francs each monthly to have potable water, which will be permanent.
En permanence, si le point d'eau tombe en panne, qu'on soit en mesure de le réparer.
Though faced with these social amenity problems, the population of Mbam and Inubu are not hindered from coming together like in cultural festivals and other ceremonies to dance, smile, and in all jubilate over their worries, hoping things will be right in the days ahead.
We now take you to Marwa, far north region of the country, to add that persons living with disabilities in that part of Cameroon have accused the regional delegate of social affairs for promoting social inclusion than social cohesion. It was during activities to mark the 2017 edition of the International Day for Persons Living with Disabilities. Once again, Équinoxe and Aze.
A handful of handicaps in Marwa, far north region of Cameroon, turned out Sunday to celebrate the 26th edition of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities under the theme Transformation to a Sustainable and Resilient Society for All. Evidence, seats reserved for them remained vacant from the start till the end of the occasion at the far north regional delegation of social affairs. We are reliably informed, majority of persons with disabilities boycotted the event with disgruntlement that the social affairs officials in the region are rather responding to social exclusion than social cohesion, including other ill practices at the detriment of handicaps.
Moi, je dis clairement, même si c'est devant eux, je devais le dire.
Invited administrative authorities in the region also boycotted the ceremony, except for the governor's representative. The few handicaps in attendance raised a couple of worries as a result. Being a zone marked by terrorist bomb attacks and insecurity, they feel insecure at the ceremonial ground without the presence of the governor, senior divisional officer, and others, knowing fully well that a bomb blast, which can result at any moment, can render many others disabled.
Représentés par leurs adjoints, déjà c'est saluable, mais rien.
To one of them, it will give joy to the disabled persons to celebrate the day if the governor was present. Instead, representatives are sent, which to the handicaps makes no sense. Unfortunately, they were left with no choice than moving on with the celebration under the guise of God.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Time for us to meet our guest. Stay with us. Our guest tonight is a media practitioner, Mr. Eli Smith. Good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
It's a pleasure for having me. You've invited me here today.
Thank you. Once again, the current crisis rocking the two English-speaking regions is our focus for tonight. The most recent controversy is the communique that was published by the Senior Divisional Officer for Manu. Many are having the impression that the SDO for Manu Division, the Southwest region, simply unveiled the plans of the government to implement tougher measures in the Southwest region of the country. What do you think?
I also share that opinion, but I also want to think that to err is human. So I want to put on the chapter of a mistake that they committed, because I think they seem to undermine the resolve of people of West Cameroon and the people of Manu Division in particular. I have always said this thing time and over again, that this thing concerns Cameroon, and there's no reason to have a victor nor a vanquished. The most important thing is for the stability and peace of this country and for the Manu Division and Cameroon in general.
Tougher security measures, they have been criticized by some opposition leaders in the country just between Thursday, Friday, and the weekend that they were announced. Precisely, we have the CPP that have equally reacted, and a lot more of other actors of the civil society. Is it a solution to the current situation in the Anglophone regions, taking tougher security measures?
No, and I think those who have reacted negatively are correct. I think CPP and other members of the opposition and civil society organization, and nowhere in the world has tougher measures ever solve a problem. If you can go back, history is any guide. Look at what the Northern Vietnamese had by comparison with the enormous firepower of the United States. What happened at the end? And here in Africa, what happened between the Algerian freedom fighters of the Front de Libération Nationale and the French army? So when you use force, it is never going to solve any problem. The only remedy is dialogue.
We are having reports of military deployment in the Anglophone regions of the country, but administrative and security officials are saying otherwise. What you, as a journalist that has been in those regions, you have been to the northwest region of the country, you have been to the southwest region. What was your observation of the prevailing the atmosphere?
I find it strange that some people, especially the government and the pro-government media, claim that there are no deployment of the Cameroon army in the West Cameroon is pure lies. You have a greater deployment. You just need to go and cross the Mongo and see the number of vehicles coming in with bursting in soldiers.
And we equally have reports of more vehicles between yesterday and this Monday, yesterday, Sunday and this Monday.
Exactly. They are trying to beef up their security presence on the ground. But I think it's a mistake. You can't solve this problem using military might. Because someone told me from Manfe when I was calling him, he said, this is a spiritual war. It is a popular war where people are in support of what is going on. I think what the government has to do is to buy the hearts and minds of the people of West Cameroon in order to seek for a solution. If they want to
What do you mean by buying the minds of...
Buying the minds and heart of West Cameroonian is simple. On the 22nd of September this year and on the 1st of October this year, there was a gigantic massacre in that region of the country. What has the government done? The government seemed to think that it's just a matter that nothing happened. So what the government had to do is to put in place a measure, a system of compensation, try to see how to solve the problems. And what are the problems that have arrived at what we are today? The government needs to try to give solutions. Buying the hearts and minds is that you don't have to be killing, arresting wantonly, or raping people, or sending the very soldiers who are, as I've always said, it is not a joke. Most of them are forces of law and disorder. They are not forces of law and order. So I think I'm not going to invent the wheel.
And the dialogue you're talking about has been the recommendation of several international organizations. We've equally seen even the National Commission for Human Rights and Freedoms, many NGOs in the country are equally recommending dialogue, frank and genuine dialogue as far as the crisis is concerned. With the current tougher security measures announced in the Northwest and Southwest regions, precisely in Manu division of the Southwest region, can we say that the government is abandoning that dialogue?
Of course, you don't need to be a graduate of MIT or Cambridge to say the government is abandoning. I think the government has this tendency of thinking that they can talk down on people, smash them, at the end of the day, dictate their whims and caprices on them. Perhaps they have done that on others in other parts of Cameroon, but you cannot do that in a region that not even considers itself as a nation. What the government has to do is once again be able to dialogue with genuine representatives of that region and not people who are masquerading as leaders or who have been handpicked by Yaoundé.
And something very interesting, we saw the senior divisional officer calling on the population in Manu to collaborate with forces of law and order. Do you see the thing that is the people trust soldiers as peace-restoring agents now in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon?
No.
Do you see that cordial relationship between security forces and the population?
An emphatic no. How will you collaborate with somebody who rapes your child, kills you willy-nilly, arrests you, humiliates you? There is a video circulating, I saw that person, I didn't see it, whereby the policeman took out a parent from a car, asked him to kneel and walk. When you humiliate people daily, how do you expect those people to collaborate with you? When I'm talking about winning the hearts and minds, is that we should have forces who are forces not of repression, people who try to collaborate with the population and not try to humiliate them by every turn.
So apart from that, there are several solutions out of this crisis, like you're talking about dialogue winning the hearts of the Anglophone population. We equally have demilitarization of the Anglophone regions of the country, the release of all those that are currently behind bars. You have been following the court case of Mancho BBC and Co in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. You were there just a few days ago. What was your observation? And if you could give a recommendation, what would that be?
My recommendation is what I've always done, that whenever I have an opportunity to be invited, as you have invited me today, is that everybody should be released unconditionally. And the one thing I saw when I was in Yaoundé is that there are 2 journalists there in detention who have gone insane. If this government weren't primitive, insensitive, they would have at least shown that they are kind.
It's because the Committee to Protect Journalists has been talking about these journalists, that their conditions are really, really unstable at the Kondengi Central Prison in Yaoundé.
Of course, 2 of them have gone insane, and their condition of detention is atrocious. And if you have a government that is humane, at least those people have to be released. And any other detainees currently at the Kondengi maximum security prison should be released. People like Terence or Penn Terence, Mancho BBC and the others, even those 2 journalists who are already insane right now. if we are people who are humane, why don't you release them and release all others who are detained? That's the only thing, because most of them who are there, they went there because some of them are prisoners of one authority or the other. They did nothing, and somebody tells you that since I am a minister, I'm going to send you into jail and nothing is going to happen. But if you want peace to reign, those who have been arrested should be freed, and that sincere dialogue should be initiated. You have a lot of Anglophone leaders around, like people like Aya, Agbobala, Fontaine, Manchu, and the rest. Those are leaders of the Anglophone region, and they have to be spoken to. Or church leaders, because I think the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province has already, on a number of occasions, made a lot of propositions that I think the government seems to have ignored it. You can't win, we are all Cameroonians, and you cannot win this war with military might. If you try that, they are going to meet their Trafalgar as well as their Waterloo.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Elizabeth,
for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again.
God willing.
Thank you so much. To our televiewers, it was equally a pleasure having you with us in this edition of the news. Wishing you a blessed day in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.